All right, good morning, everybody. All right, let's start. Yeah, the S&P and Dow finishing about almost 0.5% up on Friday. I think when we left our session, they were up over 1%, so pulling back quite a bit over their session. They did manage to close off the lows, though after economic data showed consumer spending rising for the month. Asian markets in general are up. Aussie's up quite nicely, 0.75%. Nikkei's up just over 0.5%, despite some disappointing data that came out. We'll show that just now. Shanghai down for a change. They've after a choppy trade session ahead of key upcoming economic reports, and then we had Hang Seng up, about 0.33%. Today we got Barclays Group ex-div 4.70 Rand, Nedbank 5.05 Rand. Those are two stocks that have been performing really well. So it'll be interesting to see if they manage to make up any of those divvies today. And then we've got AVI of 1.20 Rand. All right, so there's that Japanese data we were talking about. Manufacturing PMI came in at 53.9. Industrial production quite a decent miss there, and housing starts also a miss. Coming out at 8 o'clock, come out at 8 o'clock, was German retail sales, SA money supply, private sector credit. Then we've got French GDP, UK mortgage approvals, EC CPI, Italian CPI, and SA trade balance in rands at 2 o'clock. That'll be interesting to see what happens with the rand after that number. And then 3:45, we've got the Chicago purchasing manager. Yellen speaks at the development conference just before 4 o'clock. And at 4:30, we've got Dallas Fed manufacturing activity out of the US. And then important thing to note for the active day traders is the start of UK daylight savings, I think, is today. So they'll be opening up exactly the same time as us. Tomorrow we've got the Bank of England releasing minutes of the last meeting, and then official PMI out of China tomorrow as well. Thursday we've got ECB rates decision, and then US trade deficit, and then the big non-farm payrolls number out of the States on Friday. And there's quite a lot of stocks going ex-div there, so take a note of those as well. All right, let's have a look at a few charts. Okay, I'm going to start with Discovery. It's one we showed on Friday, breaking that 80 level. We weren't 100% sure on Friday because it had closed up so much in the auction, but we had great follow through during that Friday session. Managed to close right up at close to $83. May have been 83 on the dot. I still think we're going to get some follow through here. As we showed, the first line of resistance comes in around just above $84. Let's call it $85. But I don't think it'll stop there. At the moment, it's sitting right on the 200-day moving average. We'll see if there's any, if that forms any kind of resistance. I don't think it will. I think we probably will get some follow through into the end of the month, or given that it's month end, to that 85 level, and then we can reassess from there. But given how a lot of these other stocks have followed through, all domestic stocks in South Africa, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more upside here. Second one I wanted to show is Naspers. Not showing this to give really a trade recommendation, just out of interest, because it's been sort of in all the headlines recently. We marked out two pretty important levels over the last few weeks around this range that it was trading in between sort of 12.30ish and call it 11.50, 11.55, and as Joe was saying, when it breaks out of that range, we should see a good move either way. It broke out to the downside and is now bounced and is testing the bottom of this level. I see Tencent is pretty much square on the day, so I'm not sure if there's going to be a catalyst to get it through that level, and apart from the fact that it's month end. So let's see how this thing trades. If it finds a bit of resistance here at 11.50, maybe we go back and test the lows. But if we can push back into this range, then that might be all the downside we see for Naspers for the moment. All right, next one I wanted to show is Mondi. Mondi's at an interesting level at the moment because it's definitely been one of the big outperformers. If let's just go back a couple of years, you can see what a massive uptrend this one has been in. It then broke out of a sideways consolidation, almost an ugly inverse head and shoulders continuation pattern here. And it lines up exactly with where it's trading at the moment. We've formed a bit of a short-term head and shoulders with a neckline exactly at the breakout point. So if we bounce off this level, then I would say this could definitely be heading back towards that original target from the break, the big consolidation, which was around 210, 220 area. So I would say if we get a bounce off this level, it's also on the 50-day moving average. If we get a bounce, a bit of a reversal, that could be the start of another move up. But then definitely some caution if it breaks below there. You probably just want to be out until it bounces again. But as we've said, finding these stocks that have been in mega trends and buying them on pullbacks has definitely been the play in this bull market. Okay, let's have a look at Brait. Brait's another one we showed on Friday. We showed this first big breakout. We weren't 100% sure whether it was worth chasing it because it had moved up 5% on that day. But again, we had some good follow through on Friday, and this one looks like it could also be in another sort of mega trend like these other financials have been in, or the start of it anyway, back to retest the highs at around 57 Rand. Next one I'll show is Pick n Pay. So Pick n Pay has also broken out of a bit of a rounded cup and handle pattern, a lot like a lot of these other retailers have had. They had a really big day it looked like they've had a really big day on Friday. And again, the height of this pattern, 48 Rand to about 43 Rand, you're looking at about $5. So we're looking at about 53, which would take us to the closing all-time high on Pick n Pay. And then the last one I want to show is CFR. CFR has still been stuck. I know we've shown this a lot of times. Still stuck at the bottom of its range. It hasn't been able to make a meaningful move above this 200-day moving average. So whenever something's stuck in a range like this at an important level, normally the breakout or whichever side it breaks out is going to be a pretty decent sustained move. So at the moment we're looking around about 99.50 on the bottom side of the range, and on the top side of the range, let's look at around 102. So if we can get a breakout in either side of this small band, I would expect a decent move either way. And that's all for today, guys. Good luck trading.
Easier, Mark.